This is the Ulefone T1, labelled by the company as the Fast and Furious smartphone, which was enough to get me excited. Now there were a few things I was skeptical about, but nonetheless it'll be exciting to see how it performs. Let's get started. The packaging, from the outside at least, does look rather nice. You can see we've got this matte black exterior, shiny silver text, and on the inside here this internal packaging is a sort of glossy red finish. So apart from that, there's not really anything noteworthy on the outside of the box. Now on one hand this is nice packaging, but on the other hand it is almost identical to the Gemini Pro if you saw my unboxing of that. Just leave that to the side. So inside here you can see that looks really top class. We've got some nice foam holding it in place, and over here we actually have a micro USB to USB Type-C adapter. There's a USB Type-C cable, fairly chunky looking adapter, and then there's a nice little, fairly light feeling box. So I'm guessing this is going to have the screen protector and casing, and bonus. Okay, so we've also got, as well as that, a phone ring holder. This is starting to become a bit of a trend. This one in particular is much slimmer than previous ones I've tried, and it's got a nice gold colour to it. We've got warranty card, we've got a user manual, nothing too out of the ordinary there. Why is it blue? No, it's still blue. There we go. Right, so that's just a standard glossy plastic screen protector. Okay, so the case on this phone is meant to be a bit of a special one. So let's crack it open. You can see, even close up, this looks like a very detailed piece of work. It's almost got a snakeskin leather kind of finish to it. It won't be real leather, but it does feel rather genuine. But yeah, it's light, it's sturdy, and it also looks high quality. So, phone. And the first thing, this is a heavy smartphone. This is over 180 grams, which compared to most flagships at around 150 grams, is noticeably heavier. Let's take the screen protector off. It's a bit of a shame really. The phone looks almost identical to their Gemini Pro flagship, which on one hand you could say is a good thing. I mean, the phone looks like their flagship phone, but on the other hand, some ingenuity would be good. I mean, I do feel like each phone needs to have its own design language. This is essentially the exact same smartphone in a slightly duller colour. Having said that, it's pretty unlikely one person's going to be buying both smartphones, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. Anyways, that's the unboxing. Let's get into what you need to know about it. At just under $230, for a lot of people, the Ulefone T1 is not really in budget phone territory. Having said that, the finish is nice, if not a tiny bit slippy, but it does feel high quality. Now, one thing I did notice while using this phone is I feel like a lot of its design inspiration is coming from the OnePlus 5. It does look and feel like it from the front and the bottom, but the fact that it's so much thicker and heavier than it makes it feel almost like a poor man's version of the phone. It is nice to see the edges of the phone have been nicely rounded off, and combining that with the soft touch finish, you do get quite a comfortable phone to hold, even if it is 180 grams. There isn't really too much to say about the display here. It is a 5.5-inch 1080p panel, and my first impression here was that this really is not a bright display. In bright daylight, or if you're viewing it from a serious angle, you're going to have a bit of trouble. On top of that, putting it side by side against the Galaxy Note 8 on the right, you can tell not only is it not as bright, but it's also got quite a significant blue tinge to it. The side bezels are very much present here, and in terms of colour reproduction, we've got quite a soft colour palette. This is nowhere near the AMOLED level of colour reproduction, but again, it's not terrible. Now, as the phone's strapline here is Fast and Furious, what I really wanted to see was could it justify that name? Long story short, not really. To be honest, even though it has 6GB of RAM, you can't really tell when you're multitasking. Even recent applications often need to reload. Also, when you're typing with your keyboard, there is a slight, and I mean very slight, perceptible lag, but it's enough to kind of put you off. You'll notice something similar when you're using the UI. It's not slow, but every now and again it does just hang. Gaming, on the other hand, is actually pretty good. Most of the games I played, even really demanding 3D games, seem to run fine. So the real conclusion here is that the phone does have some potential. It does have a fair bit of grunt under the hood, in which it can become quite a fast device, but the poor optimization here means that it really doesn't feel like it most of the time. As we have seen with a lot of cheaper supposed dual camera smartphones recently, the one here again is pretty much null. If there is even a second camera, it doesn't really do anything of note. Having said that, we do have a working 16 megapixel sensor, which sometimes can take great photos. Having said that, most of the time, even when you set it up for a fantastic shot, it tends to just come out a little bit underwhelming in the end, with quite a bit of overexposure and quite a bit of blur as well because the shutter time just isn't really up there. The front 8 megapixel camera is better, detail is fine, it gets a fair bit of light in the shot, but it's a little bit slow for my liking. One thing I do like about smartphones of this form factor, including the T1 here, is the doubling of the home button. So it also doubles as a back button depending on whether you press it or you hold it. That is useful. Whilst the fingerprint scanner can do its job in about 0.2 seconds, it ends up taking up to 0.5 just for the screen to actually turn on, so again, that little bit of lag really gets in the way. At 3680 mAh, battery life here is really rather good. In fact, if you're conservative, you can even just about hit 2 days of usage. So that is the Ulefone T1. I have to say straight up, it really doesn't live up to the Fast and Furious title. Even if it does have the potential to be rather nippy with its Helio P25 and 6GB of RAM, in practice due to the poor optimization, it really doesn't achieve this. On top of that, the camera, screen and the heft of the phone leave a lot to be desired. Having said that, there are some plus points. There is plenty of storage here, 64GB internally, plus room for another microSD card, and loads of battery, probably in the top 10% of actual capacities available. Taking all of this into account, I really have to say you can probably do better for the money. For a very particular kind of user, the T1 is not a terrible device, but for the vast majority, I can't say I recommend it. Thanks a lot for watching, I'm Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll see you guys next time.